Good evening, everyone. Welcome along to Perfect Acceleration Sim Racing and the final round of the Junior Saloon Car Championship's official eSeries. After nearly 2 months' worth of hard-fought racing, it all comes down to the final two races here tonight, with 4 drivers arriving at the final week in mathematical contention for championship honours. My name is Andy McEwen, talking you through all of the action. Once again, a team of people working behind the scenes to make all of this happen. Mick Sutton, our series organiser, Scott Thorne, our race director and safety car driver, and in charge of the broadcast, as always, is a slightly under the weather Tom O'Farrell, so I'll not give him too much stick if we miss some of the action tonight, which is a rare occurrence. He's done a brilliant job all season long of keeping us on top of everything that's happening. I do, though, suspect he will be busier than ever here tonight, because we're racing around a track that is known for being all action. It is the Thruxton circuit in Hampshire, down in the southwest of the United Kingdom. It is the latest in a long line of top racetracks that we have visited this season, starting at the home of British motorsport on the international circuit at Silverstone on the 23rd of February even. We then moved to Donington Park, to Brands Hatch, to Croft, Alton Park, and a week ago, the Snetterton 300 circuit, a track that I think perhaps some of us expected to produce maybe not the most exciting racing of the season. Actually, it was possibly one of the most entertaining nights of the entire 6 weeks we'd had up to that point. Certainly a dramatic pair of races as far as the championship was concerned. We'll get into that and the ramifications of that in a moment or two. Well, at the end of tonight, we will have a champion, and that champion will be receiving a pretty tasty prize, not just a champion's trophy, but also £300 on offer for our winning driver, or they can choose to trade that in for an Optics 31.5-inch curved gaming monitor. Second place in the championship receives £200 and third place £100. So I mentioned there are 4 drivers mathematically in contention. Well, there's a very, very close fight for third place between 2 of those perhaps title contenders, and it's going to be interesting to see who comes out on top in that one. There's also the FreeM UK sponsored Driver of the Round award, which is chosen by the whole team here at the Junior Saloon Car Championship official eSeries, as well as taking on a bit of input from you at home as well. So if there's anyone that you think deserves to claim the Driver of the Round award, then do let us know in the comments, and we will take that feedback on board. So these are the prizes. Who is going to claim those prizes? Well, it will be either CJ Morgan, Jordan Taylor, Alexander Mostav, or Harley Connolly. Those 4 drivers all mathematically could still claim the championship, but realistically, it's kind of a 2-horse race. CJ Morgan and Jordan Taylor are just 8 points apart as we arrive here at Thruxton for the final 2 races of the season. Now, if you tuned in a week ago at Snetterton, you might be wondering, well, hang on a minute, why are they only 8 points apart? CJ Morgan lost a few points to Jordan Taylor at Snetterton, but he should still have a bigger lead than that, right? Well, you're sort of right. He would have a bigger lead had it not been for 12 penalty points that were handed out to our championship leader for, I think it was 4 separate on-track incidents. It was CJ's scrappiest night of the season, it's fair to say. He definitely got caught up in a few on-track incidents for which he was penalised. So that brings the gap right down, and it means it's really all to play for now between those 2. As I said, mathematically, Alex Mostav and Harley Connolly could still pip them, but they are some way back and realistically are fighting amongst themselves for third position, with Levine Kishaw and Riley Bishop and Lewis Stannard, Luke Sintler, Jamie Petters, Zach Palmer, even Nathan Jensen, mathematically all still in contention, actually, to take home a wad of cash at the end of tonight's races, because they all could still break into the top 3. Outside of the top 10, though, you've got the likes of James Sherrington, 12th, Bill Cruton, 13th, Josh Salvadori, who's had an up-and-down season, in 14th, ahead of Jensen Bell and Charlie Constable, with Hayden Gray, Gabriel Doyle Parfait, Jonathan Moore, and Cameron Pratt Thompson completing the 20 drivers to have scored points so far. Well, points will be a big talking point here tonight at Thruxton, because we have the usual format, 2 20-minute races following a qualifying session, which I believe is well underway already. In fact, we can now cut to the live pictures with 6 minutes to go, just under of qualifying left. Before we start talking too much about the times, though, to let you know how it's going to work tonight, still the same format. So qualifying of 15 minutes, which sets the grid for race 1, which is a 20-minute race. We then reverse the results of the first race to give us the grid for race 2, and we do it all again over 20 minutes of racing. The difference tonight is that second race is worth double points. So 25 points normally would be allocated to a race winner, 22 for second, 20 for third, and then kind of down in 2-point increments, then 1-point increments a bit further back. That will still be the same for race 1, but for race 2, 50 points will go to the race winner, 54 for second, and 40 for third. Now, bear in mind, there are only 8 points at the moment between our top two in the championship. There are 78 points available here tonight, because on top of those double points in race 2, we also have the bonus point for fastest lap in each race, and the bonus point for qualifying on pole position at the end of this session. So 78 points maximum up for grabs, and it's therefore makes that 8-point lead that CJ Morgan enjoys at the moment over Jordan Taylor look even more precarious, doesn't it? So certainly the pressure is on those two drivers to perform here tonight, and so far it is Jordan Taylor who is doing the better of the two. He was on provisional pole position until very recently when Levine Kishore managed to pip him. There is Jordan coming out of the final corner. There's a car off the road in front of him though, and it clips him actually as he bounces off the Hayden Gray car that was ricocheting off the wall. Hopefully that didn't do any damage to Jordan Taylor's car, and we can ride on board with the man second in the championship at the moment. He's already gone through Allard, the flat-out first corner here at Thruxton, and now we climb the hill into the complex. The first of the real overtaking opportunities. Misses the apex there through Campbell. That will definitely have hurt his lap time. Then clips the curb through Cobb, the left-hander, and then flat out here through Seagrave out onto the flat-out back end of the circuit. Now, Thruxton in a more powerful racing car is a real thrill ride. In these Junior Saloon Car Championship Citroen Saxos, limited in top speed as they are, being a junior category, it becomes a little bit easier, but still these corners like this long one here at Goodwood, not all that easy to go flat out through. You've got to really balance the car nicely and be careful really not to scrub off too much speed by yanking on the wheel a bit too hard or understeering off the track altogether. Jordan Taylor managing it nicely there through Goodwood. Now they go down into Church Corner, fastest corner on the track, easily flat out in these cars. There is a car sitting on the apex though, and this has been a very scrappy lap so far from Jordan, not entirely through his own making, it must be said. Church Corner, a crucial corner because it carries you all the way up Woodham Hill into the braking zone at the Club Chicane, the scene of many an incident through the years here at Thruxton. Hop over the curb to the right, to the left, avoid the tyres, Jordan. That was a narrow miss on the tyre stack on the right-hand side. I doubt this will be an improvement for Jordan Taylor. Indeed, it is not. A 34.5 is almost a couple of seconds off pole position, so Jordan Taylor now really starts to wind things up for a proper attempt at reclaiming pole position from Levine Kishore. Of course, it would be very handy for Jordan if he could get that pole position. It is worth an extra championship point. Levine Kishore not mathematically in contention for the championship, but as I said, he's one of many drivers hoping to break into the top 3 before the end of the evening. But for the moment, he would be taking that bonus point. Josh Salvadori, meanwhile, makes a welcome return to the championship. Didn't race with us last week, at least, at Snetterton. But the 110 car is back. In fact, we've got 17 of them out there tonight, which is the biggest entry we've had for a while. So big thank you to all of the drivers for making it to our end of season showdown here at Thruxton. And even those who are not necessarily contending for championship points are going to put on quite a show for us here tonight, that's for sure. Speaking of drivers not contending for points, by the way, you'll notice that in 6th place right now in the session is car number 5, Kyle Felvers. This is Kyle's second appearance of the season, but Kyle is a guest entry, so he will not be eligible to score championship points. That's because he's far more experienced in sim racing than any of the other drivers on the grid, basically. So Kyle Felvers, who raced with us at Alton Park a few weeks ago, back on the grid again here at Thruxton. This lap time about to be completed and is not an improvement, so he will stay in 6th position, but for points purposes is invisible. So that may lead to a little bit of confusion when we get to the end of the night looking at points tables, because he is manually deleted from the race results after the results go live. So it might take a couple of minutes by the end of the broadcast for us to absolutely confirm the championship standings, because anyone who finishes behind Kyle in the races essentially gets bumped up one position. Kishaw, meanwhile, pushing on already with pole position by nearly a tenth of a second. But look at that, he's a tenth and a half underneath his existing pole position time through Sector 1. Drops most of that back again, though, in Sector 2. So Levine is perhaps going to break even at this rate, but he's got some cars ahead of him he might be able to get a bit of a slipstream from. That's Will Crudson, I think, staying well out of the way in the yellow number 17 car. So actually, Levine doesn't get much of a slipstream from him, and will instead have to try and absolutely nail the braking point into the club chicane. Turns to the right, hops over the curb, clips the curb to the left. That looked really, really good. The car bouncing slightly awkwardly, and that doesn't look so good. He's in the wall, in fact, Levine Kishaw, so carried a bit too much speed through the club chicane, it turns out. And Kishaw is definitely not going to improve, and in fact, by the time he gets to the timing line, the checkered flag will be out. So his qualifying session comes to a very spectacular end, but that could have been an improvement. How important could that prove to be as far as whether or not he ends up on pole? Because look at this, Jordan Taylor is really hovering now on that pole position time. Purple Sector 1, and this could be for a very, very valuable championship point. To the line he will go. Is it enough to beat? To 132.454? No, by 2 1,000ths of a second. Jordan Taylor stays second, and CJ Morgan improves to third. So Jordan Taylor, by the narrowest of margins, misses out on pole position, and he will have his big championship rival starting just one position further back on the grid. But how close could it get for Jordan to getting that crucial extra championship point? How much might he live to regret that by the end of the night? We shall have to wait and see. Luke Sintler, meanwhile, is on what looks like being his personal best lap time so far. 3/4 of a second near enough off pole position right now. He's still good enough for 6th place in what is a surprisingly well spread out session up to this point, because this is a track that we expected to provide very close lap times in qualifying, with so much of it being flat out. Let's see what Luke Sintler can do then. Can he improve from 6th place on the grid? Comes to the line, takes the shortest possible route to the line, and 33.1 is an improvement in time, but not in position. He will, stay in 6th place. So that means that despite a couple of late attacks on his pole position, it will be Levine Kishaw who lines up on the front of the grid, and Levine joins us now in the commentary box. Levine, well done, excellent lap there. It looked as though you were going to improve again towards the end, but we saw what happened to you at the final chicane. As it happens, it was just about enough, but how much quicker do you think you could have gone?
I think it's quite unfortunate I couldn't really improve, but nonetheless it's a pole position. Yeah, I mean, that's about it. It was quite a simple session. I could have improved a lot. I was on for a few good laps, but just tried to keep it safe towards the chicane, which didn't actually work in the end anyway. But, you know, low 32s was possible, but unfortunately it just didn't happen. But we'll continue it into the race, I guess, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, starting from pole position, but the two drivers immediately behind you fighting for a championship lead. Does that alter in any way the way in which you race them, or are you still out there just for yourself?
I have to race like I'm out there for myself. I'm also in a championship fight. Obviously, I won't favour one driver over the other. It's just going to be racing from here. So just continue, go flat out, right?
That sounds like a good plan to me. Certainly hoping that was going to be your answer, because we want to see you getting stuck in. I think there's a chance of a race win or two tonight. How do you expect the races to pan out, though, here at Thruxton? Because I think it's going to be tough to break away at the front. Would you agree?
Depends on race pace. I mean, I think I can pull away just slightly from Jordan Taylor a bit. But it depends on if they're safety cars. As we know, that chicane is really, really dangerous, especially if you're pushing. And if you're in second or third, you want that win. So I'm going to be cautious, but I know that I'll just drive cool-headed and I'll maximise on my points.
Excellent, Levine. Thank you for taking some time to come and join us. We'll hopefully get to speak to you again later on tonight, but for now, congrats on the pole and best of luck for race one.
Thank you very much.
Levine Kishaw then will start from the front of the grid for our first race of the night. It means that one of those 78 championship points that were available tonight will not be going to either of our championship contenders. Remember, it's 234 points right now for CJ Morgan. Jordan Taylor, 226. 8 points the difference, with 26 points available now in race 1, 25 for a race victory, plus a bonus point for the driver who sets the fastest lap time in the race. And that could be really important as well, actually, because we've seen Jordan Taylor notch up a few of them. He was really on fine form at Snetterton a week ago. and managed to make good use of bonus points. And, you know, those bonus points, they all add up over the course of the season. And it means that we're going to have to really pay close attention to the live timing over the course of the race, because that could be just as important as the overall running order. So, Levine Kishore then will line up from pole position on the left-hand side, the black and pink car. We just heard from him. He says he's going to be going for it, doesn't really care that it's the championship contenders lining up immediately behind him. And that is really, I think, the right answer. If you start moving out of people's way, you're almost having a direct influence on the championship anyway, even if you're not favouring one driver over the other. The fact that you're racing them differently to everybody else is a little bit unfair in a way. So, luckily, that is not, it would seem, how Levine is going to approach this. He's going to fight tooth and nail for the race victory. Alongside him, there will be Jordan Taylor, the all-black car. The white car that starts to the inside of row number 2, that is CJ Morgan, your championship leader by just 8 points. Red lights on then, out they go. The first race of the evening is underway, and it's a good reaction certainly there from Jordan Taylor, and he might be able to challenge Levine Kishore for the lead into the first quarter. In fact, he'll do more than challenge. I think he will take the race lead. He's got his nose ahead already, chops across the nose of the pole sitter, who now finds himself 3 wide with the 2 Chandler Motorsport teammates, and CJ Morgan is getting squeezed over into his teammate Alex Mostav, who is also mathematically a championship contender. This could get very tasty into the complex for the first time. Taylor leads the way. Around the outside goes Mostav though. Contact there from Kishore. Around goes Mostav into Kishore. CJ Morgan dodges a major bullet and comes out of that in second position. Mostav is still rattling off people. Luke Sintler has got around. It's carnage at the complex for the first time, and in the middle of it, I'm afraid, is one of our championship contenders. And for Alex Mostav, he will be hoping and praying for a bit of a safety car now. There are cars littering the side of the road on the exit of the complex there. That all started because CJ Morgan and Levine Kishore ended up 3 wide with Mostav through the entry to the complex, and contact was sort of inevitable in the end. Morgan got away with it though. Carl Felvers has gained out of that as well, started 7th I think, and the guest driver up into 3rd place already. Dabs the brakes there into Church Corner as they make their way out of Church up Woodham Hill. Bit of weaving going on. Are we under safety car conditions? I think we must be, because Jordan Taylor is braking heading up Woodham Hill, and we do have a full course yellow. So Scott Thorne, safety car driver, will leave the pit lane, and they will do at least 1 lap behind the BMW safety car. But drama already as the Championship 2 end up finding themselves in positions 1 and 2. I'm referring to them as the Championship 2. As I said, Alex Mostav and Harley Connolly mathematically still contenders. Oh, hello. More issues now, I think, as some drivers are slowing down a bit more rapidly than others for the safety car. James Sherrington appears to have come out the worst of that and is stuck on the grass, and there is a car, that's Lewis Stannard, on the grass just off in the distance as well. There is Lewis Stannard cutting the chicane. Now, if you do that in race conditions, you are expected to come to a complete standstill before you rejoin the circuit, but I guess because he did that behind safety car, he'll probably get away with it. But yeah, Mostav and Connolly also title contenders in theory. Connolly is 64 points off the championship lead though and sits 4th, whilst Alex Mostav is a little bit closer, but as we've just seen, has been in trouble already and has slipped down into 15th place. But the safety car will perhaps rescue Mostav's race a little bit. This should be a track at which you can overtake pretty well. Jamie Petters, I think, having some slight connection issues there. Hopefully will, yes he has now, pinged back into... Oh, no, he hasn't. He's actually made some contact with Harley Connolly. Now, that's a bit unfortunate. That was a connection problem, not a server issue, I don't think. That's an individual driver in Jamie Petters having some connection problems, and hopefully Harley Connolly is able to reclaim his position in the order, because that clearly was not his fault. The car that hit him was invisible until pretty much the moment of contact. So, anyway, the point I keep trying to make is that Alex Mostav still has half a chance to get back into contention in this race now that we've got the safety car. If it's a quick yellow and we go racing again this time, which we should once Harley Connolly gets back into position, which I can see he's trying to do, then in theory we should be... it should give Mostav plenty of time to get back up the order. It looks like that is what's going to happen then, because Scott Thorne is accelerating away coming out of Church Corner. Lights are out on the BMW safety car. Harley Connolly is back in 4th place in the queue after that slight moment with a glitching Jamie Petters. And we get ready to go racing with the top 2 in the championship, 1st and 2nd on the track right now. So at the moment, 22 points would be going to Jordan Taylor, 20 to CJ Morgan. It would be 6 points the difference between them as it stands, but that's not yet factoring in the fastest lap because we haven't had a full lap of green flag racing yet. So give them another 5 minutes or so. We'll start factoring that bonus point in as well. Can Jordan Taylor escape from the front of the field? Keep an eye to Levine Kishore as well. He was really confident about his race pace after setting the pole position time. He is down in 6th now after his part in that door bashing that went on lap 1. Very slow restart here from Jordan Taylor, and I don't believe it. Harley Connolly has gone round again. Coming out of the chicane, Harley Connolly pointing the wrong way. And another car, I think that might have been Josh Salvador I was delayed in that. Yes, it was Josh who lost some ground too. That was before they even got to the restart. Anyway, at the front of the field, it wasn't a great restart from Jordan Taylor, it must be said. And so CJ Morgan is right behind him, looks to the inside, goes for the move. CJ Morgan for the lead into the complex. Is that going to work though? Jordan Taylor hanging tough around the outside. That gives him the inside for Cobb. They both wash out wide, and Kyle Felvers is there too. Taylor retains the race lead. Kyle Felvers to the outside, remember, does not score championship points, but is still absolutely up for the fight, and he will want to try and claim his first victory of the season. In this only his second appearance on the grid, he will split the championship contenders for the time being, and that just puts that battle on ice for a moment or two. But Jordan Taylor already having to get his elbows out to defend there from CJ Morgan, who is going to be a little miffed now, perhaps, that Carl Felvers has sort of split these two. Because whilst Carl isn't scoring points, he is still physically there on the track, and CJ has to try and get past him now in order to have a go at Jordan Taylor. The hill they will go then. An indicator on look from Felvers. Now that is really mature driving from Carl Felvers, who is a driver who has matured an awful lot over the last year or so in his sim racing. Did not want to interfere too much with the championship battle, and so he's waved CJ Morgan through, and CJ is out of shape though. He's going to go straight on. No, CJ Morgan is sideways. Has he saved it? He's back into the road. He is in the championship leader in the barriers. Carnage again at the final chicane. Cars pointing every which way but forwards, and one of them was CJ Morgan, who has rejoined, but towards the tail end of the top 10. Through comes Levine Kishore, who has been delayed again in all of that. Carl Felvers dropping back too, and that is major drama. Now, how badly damaged is CJ Morgan's Chandler Motorsport car? It looks okay visibly, but there may be some internal damage that the sim is not exactly showing us, and now he can't find a way. It's a very defensive Kyle Felvers. I wonder if Kyle was maybe trying to get out of the way there, and CJ Morgan tried to pass him on the same line. I'm not so sure, because now Kyle Felvers is still continuing to drive defensively, and now Jamie Petter's on the tail of CJ Morgan as well. So CJ Morgan then, with a big moment through the club chicane, just looked like he outbraked himself a little bit. Got a bit of a swapper on, and sideswiped the tyre wall, caused absolute chaos behind him. He's still trying to get past Kyle Felvers, which will gain him another position, but as we've said, not actually any more championship points. He does now clear Felvers through Goodwood, but he is 2.8 seconds behind Levine Kishore, and about 9 or 10 seconds nearly now off the race lead, because Jordan Taylor, out of all of that, inherits a 7.7 second advantage over Mr. Lucky, I'm going to start calling him, Zach Palmer, because so often in the second half of this season we've seen Zach be in the right place at the right time when all hell breaks loose in front of him. He's done it again here at Thruxton. So is Luke Sintler, who is challenging around the outside of him. Will Crudson is into 4th. It's survival of the fittest here at Thruxton, and as they go through the final chicane once again, oh no, Sintler's in the wall! Sintler's in the wall, collected by Crudson. That chicane is, well, proving to be dangerous, exactly as Levine Kishore said it would be. This is Luke Sintler pointing the wrong way. I think I saw another car off the road. That might have been CJ. Oh, it was! It's CJ Morgan off the road again at the final chicane. And this is all falling into the lap now of Jordan Taylor, who is 12.2 seconds off the road. I mean, it's almost comical the way in which he's been able to suddenly seize control of this race through really not his own doing even. There goes Jamie Peters up the inside of Kyle Felvers, the new running order. It's coming out of date every time they get to the chicane, isn't it? Jordan Taylor leads by 12.5 seconds after not even half the race. Zach Palmer second, Jamie Peters third, Kyle Felvers fourth, Will Crudson still fifth despite his part in that latest kerfuffle at the chicane. Levine Kishore is 6th, Josh Salvador is 7th, Constable 8th, Mostav 9th, Hayden Gray is 10th. Where is CJ Morgan? CJ is down in 13th position. Now that would currently score him 8 championship points. Jordan Taylor, of course, leading the way on 25 points. I'm going to take a wild stab in the dark and say that Jordan has probably set the fastest lap of the race so far. Yes, he has, unsurprisingly, several seconds quicker than anyone else has managed, which means that as it stands, Jordan Taylor, by my maths anyway, would be 10 points clear of CJ Morgan in the championship. Now, the little bit of a silver lining on that particular cloud for CJ is that he has the potential to gain more points in this race. Jordan Taylor is doing all he can already. He's already leading, he's got the fastest lap. The only way is down, if you like, for Jordan, whereas CJ could, if his car's not too badly damaged, pick his way back through from 13th. Side-by-side action here then. Josh Salvadori up the inside of Will Crudson into Allard corner, and Crudson will jump back in line behind him. So CJ is catching quite rapidly, actually, the Lewis Stannard-Harley Connolly battle just ahead of him. So that would, if you can get past both of them, get him into 11th place. In the background, by the way, Alex Mostab up into 8th position now. I've quite frankly lost track of exactly how he ended up in 8th place, but for what it's worth, he would score 13 points for 8th and would just about remain in championship. No, he wouldn't quite remain in championship contention. He needs to get another point in order to get to within 51 of the championship leader Jordan Taylor. 51 points, how many we will have available at the end of this one. Well, this has been a very chaotic first half of the opening race of the evening, and we haven't even got to reverse grid race territory just yet, which we'll be doing at the end of the night, of course, for the championship decider, for which we may have a new championship leader. 10 points the advantage for Taylor as it stands over CJ Morgan, which means that CJ realistically needs to pick up well, he needs to get as far as 4th now just to retain a tie. At the moment, by the way, Jordan and CJ both have the same number of race victories, so in the event of a tie break, if the two drivers are tied on points at the end of the season, oh dear, that's Levian Kishore having a big moment through the chicane right in front of Josh Salvadori, who gives him a bit of a punt up the backside to get him going again out onto the pit straight. But yes, in the event of a tie, it's the driver who has the most wins who would claim the championship. Well, they've both got the same number of wins at the moment, although, of course, Jordan Taylor not about to, but maybe 9 minutes away from claiming his 5th victory of the season, which would break the tiebreaker, unless CJ can win in race number 2, of course. CJ hasn't yet started overtaking people yet either. So Lewis Stannard and Harley Connolly his first victims, but he needs a few more positions than that in order to retain the championship lead going into the decider. But of course, reverse grid means that he will at least start almost certainly a handful of places behind Jordan Taylor for that race. So all is not lost yet, CJ Morgan fans. I'm sure he's got lots of people watching, as all of the drivers will, watching and cheering on from home. Don't despair just yet. That double points finale that looked like it might be a massive hindrance to the season-long points leader might actually now be his salvation, because it's going to give him ample opportunity to score some good points in the decider. Alex Mostab, by the way, looks like he might be able to gain a few more places out of this, because he's romping up on the back of this trio now, really. Will Crudson, Levian Kishore and Josh Salvadori. There is Mostab. So if he can gain a few more positions, then he will keep himself firmly in title contention. He'll be helped by the fact they're racing side by side on the road. Levian Kishore moving ahead of Will Crudson there, and that is for 5th position. Will, in the yellow car, been getting quicker with every appearance that he's made. He's not done the full season. Joined us halfway through the championship campaign, did Will. He's just got very sideways over those curbs. That's really hurt his exit speed along the front straight, but it isn't really a straight, is it? The front stretch there, if you like, curving constantly before it tightens into Allard corner, where Josh Salvadori goes up the inside of Crudson. This will delay them both and give Mostab a brilliant run up the hill now towards the braking zone into the complex. Does he try and take it 3 wide on the brakes? No, sensibly chooses not to do that, focusing instead on carrying the exit speed. That's something we've really seen drivers learn as the season has gone on. The momentum in these low-powered little Citroen Saxos, absolutely crucial. It's far more important to carry speed off the turns than it is to go barreling up the inside of people in the braking zone, and Mostab using that brilliantly to his advantage to get the better slingshot off the complex of corners and be clear of Will Crudson before they get to the left-hander at Noble. So towards the far end of the circuit they go then, and into the right-hander at Church Corner. Around the quickest part of the circuit they go. Cars bobbling over the curbs there. Jordan Taylor, remember, still enjoys a 16.2 second lead over Jamie Petters in second position. Palmer third, Felvers fourth. There is Zach Palmer. Oh, and there is Jamie Petters. Jamie Petters in the barriers now from second place. Now, this could be significant because will he get back on in front of the likes of Alexander Mostav, I wonder? Well, yes, he will, I think, is the answer. But, well, no, maybe not, because by the time he's up to speed, I think Salvatore will definitely have found a way past him. And I reckon Mostav will sweep through as well. So that's another place gain now for Alexander. Sixth position, worth 15 championship points, means that he would now be exactly 50 points behind championship leader Jordan Taylor as it stands, with 51 still available. Ollie Connolly, meanwhile, the other mathematical title contender, has just had another moment at the chicane. I think that drops him down into 12th position, and so unsurprisingly he would now fall out of contention for the championship, but could still in theory move into the top 3 and take some money with him as a consolation prize, if you like, come season's end. CJ Morgan update, he is now into 11th position. That's worth 10 championship points, so his deficit to Jordan Taylor currently sits at 8 as it stands. But still a long way to go. He's 2 seconds adrift of Hayden Gray and Lewis Stannard, who we're watching now. So there in the background, look, is the driver who was leading the championship coming into this race, CJ Morgan. But a comedy of errors, really, through the first few laps of the race. Again, not necessarily of his own making particularly. In fact, I really haven't seen anything that CJ's done wrong tonight. It's just not quite panned out the way he would have liked, has it? And he now really will be resting all of his hopes on that double points finale. Alex Mostav, meanwhile, hunting down a top 5 finishing position now. And if he's going to claim that, he'll have to gain another second or so to close in on Josh Salvadori, who was about half a second or so quicker than him on that lap, actually. So Mostav not really gaining on the 5th place sitter right now. Meanwhile, Charlie Constable and Nathan Jensen here doing battle over 14th place. It's easy to get swept up in the championship situation, isn't it? It's as intense as it has been, but there's plenty of other good battling to be had out there. These two have both had their issues in this one. But Charlie Constable hops over the curbs and out onto the pit straight, where he runs a little bit wide, but then Nathan Jensen was taking a very tight line, an oddly tight line, coming onto the pit straight as well. So perhaps exaggerated that a little bit. And as they make their way out of Allard's corner, Charlie Constable with 2 wheels on the grass might now be able to try and launch a move into Campbell. Really close enough though. Again, focusing instead on the wide sweeping line, straightening up the steering wheel as early as possible so that you can get to maximum throttle application, and he goes for a gap that wasn't really there. Gives a bit of contact there to Nathan Jensen, who now gives him the squeeze coming off the corner. You wouldn't believe they're fighting over 14th place, these two, would you? You'd think that this was for the race victory, but that most certainly is not the case. The battling is intense at the back of the field, as it is right at the very front, where, by the way, we are about to have a pretty interesting battle for second place, I think. Well, we were, but Carl Felvers has dropped back again from Zach Palmer, so I won't finish that point. Looked as though they were going to be nose to tail, pretty much. There is Hayden Gray in the barriers, so that is of some significance, not so much for him. Well, it is for him, I suppose, but it also gains CJ Morgan another position now. With it, another championship point. CJ is 1.3 seconds behind Lewis Stannard, with whom Hayden was battling before that little moment at the final turn. Probably time, I would say, for 2 more laps, including this one. Lapping in the 1 minute 32s, 33s as they are. It is unsurprisingly Jordan Taylor who holds the fastest lap point. 132.563, his best effort. The next fastest driver has been Levine Kishore, perhaps unsurprisingly, who sits in 4th place right now, who did a 32.9. So Levine was, pretty confident that he would be able to match, if not better, Jordan Taylor's race pace, but actually hasn't been quite as quick, and of course dropped back significantly in the early stages. Felvers will continue to keep Kishore at arm's length. Look at Carl sliding into the final chicane. Is he going to get that one slowed down? Well, somehow he does, actually, and gains quite a chunk of time there on Zach Palmer as they go on to what will be the final lap of the race. Kyle Felvers might have a shot here at second place before the flag. Meanwhile, Josh Salvadori has had a moment, and that is going to give Alex Mostav 5th position now. And again, from 6th to 5th, that's an extra championship point for Mostav. So he's keeping himself just about in the window that he could launch a surprise attack for the championship, but it would require a non-finish from Jordan Taylor and likely CJ Morgan as well. You never know. We've seen how chaotic the start of this race was. Amazingly, only one driver in the pit lane, that being James Sherrington. Everybody else has managed to carry on after their various incidents, most of them at the chicane in the opening stages. CJ Morgan has just claimed 9th spot as well. 12 points. So remarkably, he's only 6 points back now in the championships. This has been a really, really good salvage job from CJ. Came in 8 points ahead. Looks like he'll leave race 1 6 points behind, but that really isn't the end of the world. Jordan Taylor, meanwhile, comes through the final chicane, and Jordan Taylor is going to claim a runaway victory here in race number 1 at Thruxton. Jordan Taylor, his 5th no, not yet. One more lap. One more lap. They did this to me at Donington Park earlier in the season. They've got one more lap. Such is the pace that Jordan Taylor is running, and his enormous gap over the rest of the field. He is going to get one more lap in, which actually gives me a chance to just revise my maths a little bit as well, because I'm forgetting that Kyle Felvers doesn't score points. So actually, Alex Mostav, who runs 5th, will score 4th place points, which is 18 points. And CJ Morgan, who runs 9th, will score the points for 8th, which is 13. So in actual fact, he will be only 5 points behind Jordan Taylor, because Kyle Felvers, as we've said, does not score championship points. Jamie Petters is dropping down the order, although that, well, I was going to say that could have been a connection issue again. It is a connection issue. He's not connected to the racetrack anymore. He is stuck on the tyre wall, it seems, and apparently can't select reverse gear. So that car is going nowhere, and it's in a very precarious position on the inside apex of the final corner. Now, bear in mind, this battle for second place, well, indeed all of the remaining cars are going to be arriving there at speed in the very near future, so hopefully we don't have any major side-by-side battling into that final chicane, because it could get a bit messy with Petter's car stranded at the side of the road. Jordan Taylor will hopefully manage to avoid that car. He can sort of roll home from here, can't he? Through the chicane, through the right, the left, and the right again. Jamie Petters has gone out of the way, which is good news. He's gone to the pit lane, and now Jordan Taylor can celebrate a 5th victory of the season and a maximum points haul from race number 1, the race win and the fastest lap, to move into the championship lead with one more race to go. Zach Palmer, meanwhile, is going to drive a really, really good race here to resist the pressure from Kyle Felvers and the charging Levine Kishaw, and he will come out of the final chicane to see the checkered flag in 2nd position. Felvers finishes 3rd, but the 3rd place points will go, for what it's worth, to Levine Kishaw, and then the rest of them will filter through behind. Should come home in 5th position. Yes, he does. As I said, will actually score him 18 championship points. And what of CJ Morgan? It looks like it's going to be 8th on the road in the end, which is actually going to be 7th place points, because of course Petters went off at the end. So 14 points for CJ. He's only 4 behind, would you believe, despite pointing the wrong way twice in the first couple of laps of that race, in what looked like being a complete and utter disaster. He will now also start, of course, 8 positions further up the road than Jordan Taylor for race number 2 coming up in a few minutes' time. Don't go anywhere for that one. It's going to be a fantastic conclusion to the championship, with double points on offer as well. Still some good battles going on further back here. Charlie Constable has got the better of Nathan Jensen somewhere along the line, and is into 12th position now, but gets it all wrong at the chicane, and will almost certainly pick up a penalty. It might not matter though if Jensen hits the barriers, and Luke Sintler could end up picking 2 positions up here, because he's going to get past Nathan Jensen on the run to the line, it seems. Or did he? Did he? That was almost a dead heat between the two of them. The timing tower is saying Sintler was ahead, but it, confusingly, is not showing me the gap between them, so we'll take that provisionally, but I suspect there may be a penalty coming for Charlie Constable anyway, after cutting the chicane there at the end of the race. Well, that was plenty dramatic enough, wasn't it? Jordan Taylor claiming his 5th race victory of the season, though. And Jordan joins us now in the commentary box. Jordan, congratulations on what looked, in the end, like a very dominant race victory. Of course, we all know how you built that big lead. What did you see of the carnage that unfolded behind you?
It looked quite bad. I saw it started off. One of the white cars, there's many. I think hit the barrier, and it just everyone came flying through, and just a massive pile up. I thought it was gonna be a safety car. Luckily, it wasn't, and I just managed to be consistent, make sure I didn't crash, and the gap slowly got bigger and bigger.
And from that point on, really, I guess it's just a case of trying to keep your head in the game, because you must have been, fully aware of what the point situation was coming in. How aware were you of the progress that CJ was making there? Because it looked at one point like you'd have maybe a 10, 11, 12 point lead, and he was sort of gradually whittling that down.
I wasn't really paying attention too much, because if I looked down, I could make a mistake, which could lead to a crash. And I don't want to run that risk.
No, exactly, and that is the right mindset to have, and you've got to really carry that mindset into race 2 now, where I think you've got quite a tricky job, haven't you? You've got to attack. You're, I think, 4 points ahead now in the championship, but you're starting 4 rows on the grid behind CJ, and we've just seen the sort of carnage that this place can bring up. So what is the game plan, if there even can be one, going into this double points finale?
Patience, and have a very high awareness for people crashing in the chicane.
Yes, I think we might see a little bit of that, Jordan. Hopefully you're not involved in it. Best of luck for that second race.
Thank you, Andy.
So, Jordan Taylor then the race winner, the new championship leader provisionally. Second place in that race, though, was Zach Palmer, and he also joins us now in the commentary box. And Zach, I was saying towards the end of that race, that was a really strong drive, actually, because the gap between you and Kyle was coming down at one point quite rapidly, but you just seemed to find an answer for him in the latter stages.
Mute. Yeah, I thought it was quite a... I'm sorry, I was on mute there.
All good, we've got you now.
Yeah, got a good start, even though the quali I wasn't too pleased with. Going into the first corner, felt quite confident, made up a few positions, and then after that, it was just carnage. And no clue how I ended up in second after all of that.
No, I'm not entirely sure either, actually. I was going to ask you what your view of all of that was, because there were just cars spinning off everywhere. Is it luck that got you through it, or was there a little bit of judgment as well?
Luck and judgment, but probably luck to be the most common thing there. But yeah, that was quite exciting, and happy that I got another podium.
Absolutely. Well, Zach, we'll let you go and make your preparations for race number 2, but congrats. It's becoming a familiar sight seeing you on the podium. Well done.
Thank you.
And finally, our final interview for race 1 at least. First time we've chatted here in these parts, but it is Kyle Felvis who joins us on the podium with a 3rd place finish. And Kyle, I think you were in pretty much every position going at one point in that race. You were up in the lead battle, then you got caught up in a few incidents and dropped back. Did you enjoy that?
No. In all fairness, that was just carnage. People, I think everyone just needs to look at the risk factors, really, because, like, I hate to put names on people, but CJ's move to come back across the racing line after he goes wide through the chicane, like, that's not what you want to see. Like, if you're looking anywhere else, even in the real world, no one's going to come across like that. So I think that there's just some silly moments of driving, and if everyone calms it down a bit, we're going to all make it through, and it will be a nice race, but people just need to try and calm down.
You've been in situations like CJ and Jordan are in right now on multiple occasions, Carl, fighting for a championship. Very quickly before race 2 gets underway, any last minute words of advice for our title contenders?
Good luck. You're going to need it.
There we go. That sums it up beautifully, Carl. We'll let you go. Congrats on the podium, mate.
Cheers, Andy.
So, there we go. I think that pretty much sums up what I would say to our title contenders as well, because that was a fairly messy opening race. We now completely invert the grid for race number 2. and do it all over again. So here we go. The 5 or 6 red lights are illuminated on the starting gantry. 1 or 2 gaps on the grid, but it doesn't matter. The race is underway, and from the head of the field, Riley Bishop will try to hold on to an advantage into turn number 1, but really the focus turns to the title contenders further back. Jordan Taylor starting 14th on the grid, and CJ Morgan starting just outside the top half dozen, and it's CJ who's already starting to make a little bit of progress. Luke Sintler is challenging for the race lead, but keep an eye to those 2 white Chandler Motorsport cars in line on the outside line into the complex, but now one of them breaks ranks to the inside. That was CJ Morgan, and he's going for 5th place already. There's contact in front of him though, cars bouncing off each other like castanets. Let's hope they all manage to stay out of each other's way. Contact further back, and that is Luke Sintner. It's Josh Salvadori going around. That all happening just behind, I think, Jordan Taylor, who manages to go through a 4-wide situation there to break into 11th position. So good progress being made by him already. Through the left-hander at Noble and up towards Goodwood once again, where CJ Morgan is into the top 5. Ahead there of the yellow and black car of Harley Connolly. The race being led by Luke Sintler, but what can CJ do here? We're getting waiting for clarification on the point situation, but I have it as a 4-point advantage for Jordan Taylor over CJ Morgan coming into this race. And CJ knows he has got to attack. He's got to try and beat Jordan in this one. Bear in mind there are double points available, 50 juicy championship points for the race winner, and CJ will definitely have that in his sights. Right, deep breath everyone. Up towards the final chicane we go for the first time. Cold rear tyres, and let's hope they all get through. They are at least arriving there single file for the most part. Hold your breath. Oh well, Harley Connolly is sideways, bounces off the barrier, and there is a car off. That's Sintler. That's Luke Sintler, the race leader, who gets it wrong miraculously, is avoided by everybody else. Will Crudson has gone spinning in the background as well. But Charlie Cole, look at this! 6 of them for the race lead out of the first corner. CJ Morgan in the middle of it all. Harley Connolly at the inside, rattles down the side of Nathan Jensen's red and white machine, and CJ Morgan finds himself in a wide battle for second place, which he sensibly backs out of. Watch for Harley Connolly rejoining. There's more contact. Out wide will go Jensen, and all the while the next group of cars that includes Jordan Taylor is getting closer and closer by the corner. CJ Morgan somehow still there and somehow has broken through to 3rd, but here comes Taylor. Taylor into 6th place. The black car is storming through with all the momentum in the world and goes up the inside of Harley Connolly as well. Back into the side of Harley's car he goes. Jordan Taylor is a man on a mission, and now there is only 1 car between him and his championship rival CJ Morgan. Now, if I have got the points right, if those 2 drivers finish 1st and 2nd in this race, CJ Morgan and Jordan Taylor it is winner takes all. Whoever finishes 1st in this race will win the championship. That is if they are 1st and 2nd on the road at the end of the race, which is looking like a distinct possibility the way they're both going. And that could be a real battle for the ages for this championship. Up the hill they will go then, towards the chicane. Into 5th place goes Jordan Taylor. Well, hangs on to 5th place anyway. And through the right, left, right flick they will go. Oh, Jordan Taylor is in the wall. He's in the wall. He's bounced off the barriers. So too have more cars further back. Carnage once again. Connolly, Bishop, Palmer off the road. And Riley Bishop will lose all of his momentum on the exit of the corner. Jordan Taylor got through it though. He is into 4th position, but loses touch a little bit with the cars ahead. So towards the Campbell Cobb Seagrave complex we go. CJ Morgan into 2nd place, but Nathan Jensen looking to try and break through on the inside of him as well. And through into the lead, as I said a lap or so ago, has gone Charlie Constable, but there's no doubt that CJ Morgan is quicker now. Was that contact? Was that contact? Constable sideways onto the grass. Bounces back on the road, but I didn't see any contact from our angle. Could have been a bit of netcode, I suppose. But something weird happened there to Charlie Constable, and CJ Morgan has gone through into the race lead. Now, CJ picked up those 12 penalty points, remember, for driving in misconduct, shall we say, at Alton Park to Snetterton last time out. And I'm not going to say for certain whether there was contact there, but if there was, there's no doubt about it. The race control will take a pretty stern view of that. Jordan Taylor into 3rd position then. It might not matter if Taylor can get up there and challenge CJ for the race victory, but Jordan has got to get a move on, because CJ Morgan might just have the pace here to break away at the front of the field. Although bear in mind, Jordan Taylor did out-qualify CJ by a couple of tenths earlier on tonight. as it stands, Morgan would be the champion if he can win with Jordan Taylor in third. Even if Jordan is second, he would be the champion and off almost. Yes, he has got off. Jordan Taylor into the barriers. He's got it sideways through the chicane, just pushing a bit too hard. And Charlie Constable and Kyle Felvers have gone back through. So CJ Morgan sets the fastest lap as well. Fastest lap by the point, by the way, is not doubled. It's just the 1 point still for fastest lap. But Jordan Taylor, with armfuls of opposite lot there to keep it from spinning completely, actually did a good job to save the car. But he now finds himself down in 5th, and that could become 6th as Levine Kishore goes up the inside of him. But Taylor is having absolutely none of it. Sweeps around the outside and will at least retain a top 5 position. But CJ Morgan has gone now. He's checked out at the front of the pack, and he is going to be a difficult man to catch, you'd have to say. The incident log within the sim, by the way, the sim that we're using, Assetto Corsa, it tracks things like off tracks and collisions between cars and other cars, or cars and bits of the scenery. It has logged that there was contact between Charlie Constable and CJ Morgan, so the sim thinks there was contact between the two of them, but the sim cannot apportion blame. That has to fall on the shoulders, unfortunately, of our race director, I guess, and our stewarding team. A team that, thankfully, I am not a part of, because I would not fancy being the person who has to make that call that may or may not cost CJ Morgan a championship. So, up the hill comes a good battle here for 10th position. Riley Bishop, Zach Palmer and Luke Sintler. Sintler, who was at one point a leader of this race, so too was Riley Bishop, actually. They both came a cropper at the chicane, and that's Constable off again. This time perhaps unaided, I'm guessing, based on where he is on the track. There's another car off there. That's not Taylor again, is it? I think it is. I think that's Jordan Taylor. He's been off again. And Levine Kishore has been off. Did those two tangle? Have Taylor and Kishore now had some contact as well at the chicane? They were running together, weren't they? Kishore has fallen to 8th position. Taylor still 4th, but losing a lot of time as a result of that. He's 5 seconds now behind Nathan Jensen and Carl Felvers battling for 2nd place, and has got Jamie Petters and Alexander Mostav on his tail. Of course, Mostav is a teammate to CJ Morgan as well, so with Alexander's championship hopes now pretty much gone, he will perhaps turn his attentions to trying to help his teammate to clinch the title. And of course, the further back that Jordan Taylor finishes in this race, the less chance he has of even inheriting the championship should there be a penalty for CJ, because all of the penalties that CJ Morgan picked up at Snetterton, I seem to recall, were 2 championship point deductions each time. So if it were to be a similar thing between for the contact between CJ and Charlie, then 2 championship points wouldn't make a great deal of difference for CJ Morgan if Jordan Taylor is off the podium, because 50 points would go to CJ for winning the race, with 36 going to Jordan Taylor, finishing down in 4th, which is where he is at the moment. So Jordan needs to try and just regroup here. I think he's overdriving a bit, pushing a little bit too hard. Just needs to rein it in a bit, use a bit of that patience that we heard this man Carl Felvers using. Not a lot of patience on display there as he rams into the back of Nathan Jensen's car, although in fairness, Nathan was having a moment himself. And I think Kyle is, well, is he backing out of it? No, he's going to try and sweep round the outside through Allard, actually, and I think will succeed in doing so. So Kyle Felvers into 2nd place. Jamie Petters, by the way, has just set the fastest lap of the race. That steals a bonus point away from CJ Morgan, but he might be about to do CJ a favour, because he's looking to try and go on the attack against Jordan Taylor. Jordan Taylor, by the way, is suddenly only 2.3 seconds behind Felvers and Jensen, so that little contact that they had at the chicane really delayed them, because that gap was 5 seconds last time I checked. And Jordan Taylor might now be starting to think he's got half a chance of getting into 2nd place, but by our maths, that will not matter. He needs better than 2nd. If CJ Morgan is winning this race, then Jordan Taylor needs to get up there and beat him. That is now looking increasingly unlikely, because even if Jordan Taylor can bridge that 2.3 second gap to Felvers and Jensen and get past them, he will be at least 7 seconds or so off the race leader. That's the man that he has to catch, and I'm not convinced he's got that sort of pace advantage over CJ Morgan. Certainly Jordan is not going to give up, though. That's not been in his nature all season long. He can't shake off Jamie Petters, though, can he? Jamie, when he's been quick this season, has been very quick. Donington Park was a real highlight earlier on in the season, but had a pretty good night at Snetterton last time as well. Sideways there for Nathan Jensen. Did he get out of the chicane in one piece? He did, but lost a lot of momentum. thanks to that slide. Look at Jordan Taylor rocket out of the chicane. He really nailed the club chicane that time. And comes through to set what is his personal best lap of the race so far. Jordan Taylor just did a 33.281. In fact, that will be the fastest lap of the race as well. So he's got that bonus point back too. So Jordan Taylor starting now to come good, but is it too little too late? He can't waste time here. Got to try and clear Nathan Jensen as quickly as he possibly can. He's going to try and go around the outside as he knows. Tries the switch back out of Seagrave. And that will give him, he hopes, a better run towards Noble, assisted by the fact that Nathan Jensen just dipped 2 wheels onto the grass. But Nathan gets back across in front of him. Taylor having to sit in his wheel tracks again. Less than half race distance to go though. He can't sit here for too long. Hemorrhaging time here to the race leader. His big championship rival, Jordan Taylor, right on the outside as they make their way towards Church Corner. Well, no, I was going to say Nathan was going to defend the inside, but actually doesn't feel the need to in the end. Chops back across the nose of Jordan Taylor's car, but this is where Taylor has generally been really strong through the chicane. I know he had a couple of moments early on in this race, but he's got himself up to speed now. He's got the tyres warmed up. He's close enough, if he wants here, to try and have a go for third place. And I really don't think he's got much choice. He's visibly later on the brakes, throws it to the inside. He's sideways though, Jordan Taylor. Can he get the car stopped? There's a bit of a hip check, but I think he will get the car stopped. That was actually pretty much a perfect move there from Jordan Taylor. Just capable of carrying so much more speed through that club chicane, and that delays Nathan Jensen enough now that Jamie Petters has come through with him as well. So out of the first turn they will go up towards the braking zone at the Campbell Cobb Seagrave complex. Levine Kishaw, by the way, has just set the fastest lap of the race, so Levine Kishaw now taking that bonus point away from the man who was leading the championship coming into this race. Jordan Taylor might now not be doing enough anymore to claim championship honours. Looking at the YouTube chat, Carl Felvers, who I remind you is running in second place in this race, is having a conversation with his own dad in the YouTube comments section. That is next level multitasking from the teenager. I suppose we shouldn't be surprised. Teenagers are a little bit better at doing that than some of us, but that is a new one. So, Carl Felvers, yes, being accused of showing off by his dad. And Adrian, I think I tend to agree with you there. He is already far quicker than most of us in the sim. Doesn't need to rub that in our faces by having a text conversation with people whilst he's driving. In fairness, he's not got a lot going on at the moment. Sat as he is on his own in second position, or getting so dangerously close to that tyre stack through the club chicane. He is 6.8 seconds off the race leader though, and just set his personal best lap of the race so far. That was a 33.3, but a 33.0 is Levine Kishaw's best lap of the race so far. Riley Bishop's been off at the chicane. And Riley Bishop, well, he's 11th at the moment. I think he should get back up to speed before the struggling Josh Salvadori gets onto his tail. We lost Charlie Constable and Jamie Sherrington from this race, by the way, so 14 of them still running. But at the moment, CJ Morgan, pending any investigation that may or may not come after the Charlie Constable contact earlier on, is running away with this now, and you have to say either one of these two would be deserving champions. CJ Morgan was the dominant force in the first part of the season, got pegged back though as the weeks rolled by, as we sort of expected to be the case really, because he had an awful lot of other drivers who hadn't really raced on the sim at all before this championship started, who were always going to get better and better and better as they did. Started to become a real thorn in his side. Of course, Jordan Taylor, the real thorn in his side this season, didn't even race in the season opener a few weeks ago at Silverstone, so he has really been a bit of a surprise this season, winning now more races than anybody else, but CJ would level that, interestingly, if he could win this second race of the night. Taylor with a bit of a bobble this time through the chicane, a real bobble actually, and Petters will go through. So was that the final opportunity gone maybe for Jordan Taylor to really rally back in this one? Meanwhile, Levine Kishaw and Alexander Mostav having a really good battle. Now, could this be of some significance, I wonder, for the third place in the points? Because Kishore, well, he's a little bit further back than he needs to be, really. Goes around the outside of Mostaf with a really ambitious but successful move into the complex, puts him up into 6th position. Kishore was 5th in the points coming into this race, but he was 31 points behind Alexander Mostaf, who sits 3rd. So Mostaf should be safe to claim 3rd place in the championship. Doesn't look likely to improve upon that. Levine Kishore should move ahead of Harley Connolly, though, I reckon, with Harley running down in 14th place. That would be 4th in the points. There's Riley Bishop making his way out of the complex again. Will Crudson, the yellow car that he's chasing down. We head now towards the final handful of minutes in what has been a very, very dramatic second race of the evening. CJ Morgan, is he now on the verge of claiming the championship? Well, that's Felvis. That is Felvis off from 2nd place. So let's hope he wasn't texting again. Checks the YouTube chat. Well, not sure how recently that latest comment was made. Hopefully it wasn't in the braking zone for the chicane, because Carl Felvis will have egg on his face slightly after that one. Down to 10th place he goes. Hands 2nd position now to Jamie Petters, 3rd for Jordan Taylor, and that is a very robust bit of driving between Levine Kishore and Nathan Jensen, as Kishore now tries to make another round the outside pass into the complex. Really relying on the other car to leave his space. Well, actually neither of them really leaving any space as they go for the middle part of the complex, and now through Seagrave. Is it another bit of contact? Oh no, they just keep away from each other this time. But Nathan Jensen, well, there was a bit of leading there on the exit of the corner. Jensen will stay ahead. That's really slowed them up, though, and so Mostaf and Sintler have caught them, making this a 4-way battle now for 4th place. And give him another moment or two, and Lewis Stannard could even join into the fun as well. So 3 minutes to go. Championship perhaps heading the way of CJ Morgan, but there's still some grudge matches to be settled here. Last day of term, as it were. No one's really thinking too much now about penalties or points, or the fact that they have to race against each other again in a week's time, because they don't. So they are going for it 100%. Kishore with a nice bit of driving there to get the run out of Church Corner. He's on the inside line now of Nathan Jensen, making their way towards the chicane, almost banging doors again as they head to the braking zone, and now they do make contact. This is going to end in tears. They're both sideways, plumes of tyre smoke. Off they go. Off they also will take Alexander Mostaf, and so Luke Stintler comes out of all of that with 4th position, and Kishore will rejoin. Oh no, he won't. Kishore will hit the barriers going through the chicane. Mostaf, I think, may have got a second bite of that as well. And you could sort of see that coming, couldn't you, really? They'd been banging doors throughout the preceding half a lap or so, and continue to do so into the braking zone of the chicane. Carl Felvis, by the way, going slowly. His HFT teammate, Levine Kishore, having just gone off at the chicane. And I wonder whether Felvis did the same thing, because they now both found themselves going slowly, with Felvis into 9th and Kishore down to 10th. So, one more lap to go after this one. Jordan Taylor now really just trying to salvage something, but this could be significant, because if he finishes 2nd, he will at least be scoring only 6 points fewer than CJ Morgan. He had a small advantage already, remember. And if CJ ends up with a penalty for this, it's not the way we want to see the championship decided, but if he were to get a penalty for that constable contact, then 2nd place might be enough, as it happens, for Jordan Taylor to claim the title. So he's got to keep pushing on here, Jordan. He might not be doing the maths himself, he might not be thinking this way. But really important that he doesn't let his head drop here, because he could still get the championship, but he won't if he throws it at the scenery. She almost hit again there through the final chicane. On to the final lap now of the race they go, the last lap of the season. Are there any more twists here at Thruxton, which I always thought was going to be a pretty dramatic venue for the final round of the championship? It's proven to be so. Levine Kishore, meanwhile, allowed through there, I think, by his guest teammate Carl Felvis, and then Felvis gets very sideways in his mirrors and hits the wall. Oh, let's hope that Riley Bishop avoided him. I think he did. So too did Will Crudson. But Felvis with a big moment. They're really struggling on the brakes into that club chicane, aren't they? Understandably, really. You're braking on a turn at the fastest point on the track. It's quite bumpy as well. And these short wheel-based front-wheel drive Citroen Saxos can get a bit leery under braking. Drivers often say as they get deeper into the race that they start having to wind the brake bias forward a bit to try and account for that. All of this will be on the mind of this young man, CJ Morgan, who has faced all challenges head-on this season. We all kind of expected him to run away with the championship given the pace that he had at the start of the season. That hasn't proven to be the case, and the Chandler Motorsport driver now heads into the club chicane. Just 3 corners for home, but they're the 3 most treacherous corners on the track. He can afford to slow it right down, gets very sideways over the curbs. That was a bit of a heart-stopping moment, but I think he's going to survive and get to the timing line to claim win number 5 of the season, which provisionally we think will give him the championship. We'll wait for official confirmation of that if we can, though. Jamie Petters comes home in second, and Jordan Taylor a valiant third. And really, it was that most recent of his moments that he had at the chicane that dropped him completely out of contention for a race win, really. Luke Sittler comes home 4th ahead of Lewis Stannard. Zach Palmer 6th, another strong night for Zach. Then it will be Alexander Mostav. A bit of a moment there for Nathan Jensen will not stop him from claiming 8th position, whilst Levine Kishore and I think Riley Bishop maybe are going to, well, no, they're not. Well, Levine isn't going to be in the top 10 anyway because he's gone off again at the chicane. At least the 2nd, maybe 3rd lap in a row that he's been off there. And so actually it will be Riley Bishop who scores 9th and Will Crewdson who claims 10th position. So whilst the calculators work overtime and we await official confirmation on the points, we will reflect on what's been a fantastic season. Some really good racing this last month and a half or so. Times tonight got a little bit too frenetic, maybe, but that's kind of what you expect. As I said, it was the last day of school, a track that is always notorious as well for a few shenanigans, shall we say, and that final chicane was always going to be at the centre of those shenanigans, which it was. But all in all, really good racing, and certainly kept us guessing right to the wire. So whilst we wait for the official points to be totted up, we can at least have a word with our podium finishers who are starting to filter through now. And we will start, I think, with our... Well, let's start with the race winner. And we think, CJ, we can call you the provisional champion. We're waiting for the points to be officially calculated. But it looks as though you might, against all of the odds, really, have done enough. Before we talk about points, though, that race, that was... they threw everything at you, well, really, over both the races tonight, didn't they?
Yeah. The first race was awful. I got caught up in so many collisions, but I think in some way that actually came to my aid, because I knew that coming into this second race, I had to be 7 points ahead of Jordan. No, within 7 points of Jordan. No, sorry, within 5 points of Jordan.
It is confusing, isn't it, trying to do this?
I had to be within 5 points of Jordan and win the race. So coming into race 2 when I was 4 points behind him, I knew all I had to do was win the race, because that would have given me a 6 points bonus, and even if he got fastest lap, that wouldn't have mattered. So I did that, got out to the lead, and I think Jordan had a few collisions through the chicane, and I just got my head down, kept it steady, was going nice and easy, managing the gap, and brought it home.
Which is a difficult thing to do, and really you've had a few difficulties to face over the last 3 or 4 weeks. Honestly, I was reflecting during that race on how we all kind of expected you to run away with this championship based on your performance at the start of the season. Did you always anticipate, though, that it would get tougher as the weeks went by?
I definitely thought it would. I think the reason I did so well at the start is because obviously I raced the cars in real life, and the first few were at tracks that we've been to. So I think I had a bit of an upper hand there with knowing how the car's going to react, what lines to take, where to brake, etc. And then as people throughout the season adjusted to the car, that's when it started getting a lot closer.
You've had some fantastic battles along the way, and you and Jordan have shared the track on more than one occasion as well. Anything you'd like to say to your season-long sparring partner?
It's definitely been a good season, and it was unfortunate in that last race of the events that you got caught up in, because out of pure pace, I 100% wouldn't have been able to beat him. He's been in a league of his own around this track. He was like, well, through qualifying, I brought the gap down a little bit. I think I was 4/10 off him, but the whole time in practicing, he's been like 8, 9 tenths a second quicker than me. So, fair play to you, mate. But racing's racing, I guess.
It is indeed, and ultimately, it's the driver with the most points at season's end who we will remember, and we think, CJ, that is you. We're just, as I said, waiting for official confirmation, but for now, our provisional champion, CJ Morgan. CJ, anyone you'd like to thank? I'm sure you've got lots of people watching at home supporting.
I want to thank Chandler Motorsport, spurred me through it all. My dad, my brother and my mum always give me good spur before the races. And I want to thank Mick and everyone in the team for making this possible, and you, Andy, for making it be able to be a championship and making it a great one at that.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you very much, CJ. We've really enjoyed watching you and the rest of your classmates battle over the course of the season. I'm hoping to be back to do more of the same again in the future. But for now, CJ, huge congratulations. Well done, not just on tonight, but what you've achieved over the last several weeks. Well done.
Thank you, Andy.
CJ Morgan, then, our race winner, our provisional champion. We will speak to the driver who almost snatched it from him in a moment or two, but first, second place in that race, flying a bit under the radar in the end, was Jamie Petters. And Jamie, we are seeing more of you on the podium as we get through the second half of the season, which is nice to see. But talk us through exactly what led to you being on the podium in that one, because I'm sure it wasn't straightforward.
No, it was quite eventful, with starting second last on the grid and then being involved in an incident on lap 1 as well. But just cars kind of got in a few incidents, and I just kept consistent and made my way through it.
You make that sound very easy, but I was chatting to, I think it was Zach Palmer after race 1, and asked him, how much of surviving these races, especially at a track like this, comes down to luck, and how much is judgment. When you're coming through from the back of the field, how much time do you have to actually react to the carnage that's happening ahead of you?
Yeah, certainly not a lot, because it's not just a one incident at once, it's a 10 at once, as cars go everywhere. So kind of luck of the draw, kind of got to know where to put your car in order to get through it.
How satisfied are you then with the way that your season has gone? Obviously, there was some early promise at Donington Park, but I feel like you've really started now to deliver on that a little bit more frequently in the last few rounds. Are you happy with how the season's gone in general?
Yeah, I'd say it's a little bit shaky to start with, but it's sort of coming together towards the end. So yeah, I'd say I'm fairly happy.
Good news. Well, we're really happy to see you back on the podium again, Jamie, and hopefully we'll see you racing with us again in the near future. But for now, congratulations and best of luck for everything you've got coming up this year.
Lovely. Thank you.
So Jamie Petters then comes home second in the race. Did not have the pressure of a championship battle on his shoulders in that one, but our final interviewee certainly did, and that man is Jordan Taylor. Well, Jordan, commiserations. It really looked as though you were going to manage to achieve the impossible and miss the first round of the championship and come through to snatch the championship title at the very, very end. Ultimately, that didn't happen quite. Talk us through everything that happened to you in that second race.
I mean, as well, I'm frustrated myself because certain drivers around me, even though we got told at church not to cut, drivers weren't gaining advantage and affected my race. And then with the reverse grid, having people who hadn't done as much practice, spinning in front of me, I had to avoid it 3 times, which cost me 5 seconds each time. On paper, throughout the season, I personally think I've been the quickest, or quicker than CJ, as an average. But I'm frustrated to say the least. But racing's racing at the end of the day.
That's it, and it's always difficult. There has to be a winner, there has to be a loser, and to have come so close as well, taking that championship lead into the final race. I'm sure you're feeling disappointed, but on reflection, it looks like you missed out on the championship by something like 2 or 3 points. You didn't even race in the first event of the season. You've got to be massively proud of what you have achieved this season, even if it wasn't quite enough to take the top prize.
Yeah, I'm proud of myself, but as all races think, if you're not first, you're last. So I've still won a prize. So there's good things and there's bad things. I can always work on it in the next one.
Exactly. There are literally millions of sim racers in the world who do this day in, day out and don't get a penny for their trouble. So at least you're walking away, we think, with the second placed prize. £200 should be going your way. And that is certainly not to be sniffed at all. Going to offer you the same opportunity as I did, though, to your season-long sparring partner, CJ. Any words you'd like to say to him? Because I'm sure you've enjoyed the battle right the way through to the end.
Yeah, congratulations, mate, for the championship. It's been a good battle. We've been close all year in times. At Alton, we were close. It's just a shame that we couldn't have a good battle in that race to bring it down to the wire. But congratulations.
Nicely done, Jordan. Professional as always, and hopefully we'll be seeing more of you in the near future. But for now, congratulations. It's been a real pleasure watching you all season. Second place in the championship. Not a bad effort at all, mate.
Thank you, Andy.
So there you have it then. The highs and lows of motorsport summed up in one night, really. CJ Morgan arrived here at Thruxton with a slender championship lead. Jordan Taylor took the championship lead away from him after the first race of the night. But at the end of the night, and indeed the season, with nearly 300 points scored by our top drivers, I think we can now take a look at how the championship table looks, provisionally at least, come the end of the season, because we, of course, always have the spectre of post-race penalties looming over our shoulders. Because there's always the possibility that some things might change. It is, I can tell you, CJ Morgan, who has come out provisionally with the championship by 8 championship points, as far as I can see it. So 300 points exactly, actually, scored by CJ, 292 by Jordan Taylor, and 222 by Alexander Mostav. So Mostav actually managing to claim the third place prize, the 100-point prize for Mostav, and so Chandler Motorsport will be very happy to get 2 drivers into the top 3 in the championship points. Well, that is it for the Junior Saloon Car Championship's official E-Series, but that is not it for racing here, thanks to Perfect Acceleration Sim Racing. You won't be hearing from me for a little while. The live broadcast will be taking a pause until our next big project, which is going to be announced hopefully in the relatively near future. But the racing will not stop, and the plan is that we're going to go into a series of mini championships, essentially, over the next couple of months, and that will kick off in 2 weeks' time. So we're going to have a week off and then straight into our next racing championship, which will be a European Legends series, so using the Legends cars that are hugely popular here in the UK and over stateside as well. But they'll be racing around European circuits. Calendar to be announced, but head over to the relevant social media pages for all of the information on that. And it will be starting in 2 weeks' time, so not next Thursday, this Thursday I should say, but the Thursday after that is when our Legends series will be starting. So I'll make that the 20th of April when our next racing action will be taking place here. As I said, not broadcast, but you can join in the fun, get involved in the racing, and keep an ear to the social medias for all of the news on any upcoming series here at Perfect Acceleration Sim Racing. As I said, some exciting projects are being worked on behind the scenes, that is for sure. That is, though, everything we have time for here. Thank you very much for joining us tonight here at Thruxton. The Junior Saloon Car Championship's official E-Series has been brought to you by a team of very hard-working individuals. Mick Sutton, our series organiser, who I know has been beavering away in the background to make sure that everything runs as smoothly as possible, and I'd like to offer my personal congratulations. I know it's the first championship that he's organised. It's been a real success. To Scott Thorne as well, our race director and safety car driver, and of course to Tom O'Farrell, who's still with us after what I'm sure has been a slightly stressful evening, but has has done a top job all season long of bringing us the live pictures of all of the on-track action. For now, though, from myself, Andy McHugh, and the rest of the team here, thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you again in the very near future.